Congo-Rwanda feud is not new, but right now the act of expelling an ambassador from one country is usually a very loaded statement. What will it take for Congo to get rid of the M23 rebels and restore relations between those two neighbors?
Well, militarily, it's struggled. So the Congolese government has deployed enormous number of forces. Just this week, they said they had spent $100 million on their troops in the eastern Congo. And so they're obviously trying to put the financial military resources to invest those in the conflict, but they've struggled. As you can see, the M23 have now overrun not only the major town of Rutshuru and Kiwanja, but also the largest Congolese army camp of Rumangabo in the region. So militarily, they've struggled. At the same time, I think diplomatically has been no headway. There's, I think, very credible reports of Rwandan backing of the M23. The M23 is a very small armed group. It really beggars belief that they'd be able to make these advances all by themselves. And so militarily, there's been little progress, and diplomatically, there's been little progress. So we're really at a standstill at the moment, I think, and there needs to be more work, I think, especially on the diplomatic front to prevent further escalation.
Besides the M23 rebel group, Jason, there's also the ADF, the Allied Democratic Forces from Uganda, that also operates in Congo with impunity. Why is Congo so vulnerable?
Well, I think the root of this problem, you can speak of not just the ADF and the M23. There's over 100 different armed groups in the eastern DRC, 5 million people displaced. So there are numerous problems across the board. I think that instead of speaking about all of these individual groups, what you really need to talk about is the Congolese state, the Congolese government. They've really struggled to reform a state and an army that the president himself sometimes resembles a mafia more than it does an army. And so, whereas I think one needs to condemn and put pressure on regional countries to keep out of Congolese affairs, at the same time, the Congolese government needs to do much more to figure out how to reform its own security services, its own army, and get its own house in order. They've really struggled to do so.
Very briefly, Jason, what will it take now? Because the Nairobi process doesn't seem to really avail much in the peace process. What will it take the international community to do to bring these two parties together?
Well, I think there needs to be more diplomatic pressure, especially on the Rwandan government, perhaps also the Ugandan government, that have not played positive roles in this conflict. Until now, only the U.S. government has called out the Rwandan government. The U.K. even hosted an international summit in Rwanda, the Commonwealth Head of States meeting, earlier this year in the midst of this conflagration. There's been no denouncement by the UK government, the French government, or any other government of Rwandan action. So I think there needs to be more diplomatic pressure to get Rwanda to back down. That's what worked in 2013 during this previous escalation of the crisis. And the regional bodies, especially the Angolan government that has just sent its envoy to Kinshasa this week, I think they, together with the East African community, can play a critical role in furthering diplomatic progress, because I think military confrontation will just bring more suffering.